might be sat on a sweaty train or in a crumbling Victorian hovel, but for the next insert number of minutes please, we'll be taking you back to nature. Because in each episode we'll rip up the podcast rulebook and kidnap, well, lead, a different guest to their favourite local park, and there we'll talk about the things that they like to do. So pack a picnic blanket, try saying that after a few Prosecco's. Our guarantee to you, lucky listener, is that this episode will contain one or more of the following: ice cream, swings, grass, dog walkers, drunks, canoodling couples, a possible mugging, and fun in the sun, unless it rains. So join me, Christopher Beanland, yes, that is my real name, and a special guest as we try to create the perfect park date. For this intro to Park Date, I am on location in Boston, Massachusetts. I am in the Thomas J. Butler Memorial Park, which is a long park. I am strolling through in the sunshine, and it's very nice. It's a new park next to Boston's seaport. And the best bit of it is I've just passed a canine park where there are hundreds of dogs playing around and looking very, very happy. Lots of urban revitalisation in Boston. It's a very nice city that I think we would like to come and visit. And great parks. So coming up on this episode we have a person who I love to talk to. She's a brilliant writer, journalist, and now maker of podcasts such as Fake Heiress, which tells the story of Anna Delvey, who you will probably know from the Netflix show Inventing Anna, and Fake Psychic, which tells the story of Lamar Keane. You should check out both of her BBC podcasts. We have a chat in Haggerston Park in East London, which is a great party park, a place that you will love to go to, but also on an animal theme. It has some farm animals and assorted old knackered old animals with nowhere else to go. They seem quite unwanted, and they're sort of old and slow, and they remind me very much of myself, which is probably why I like to go and hang out with them. There's donkeys and sheep and horses and all kinds of things like that. Haggerston Park is very nice, and if you find yourself in Boston, come here, Thomas Butler Memorial Park. It has lots of wayfinding signs like the one I'm looking at now, talking about the Port of Boston container terminal. If you like to geek out like me, you're in the right place. This is great. There's all kinds of information about Boston's seafaring past. So let's move on to today's episode, and remember that if you would like to follow Park Date, then you really should. Park Date Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, parkdate.co.uk. And do leave us a review and tell me how much you hate/love Park Date. Here is Vicky Baker in Haggerston Park with an old, washed up and knackered presenter. Welcome to Haggerston Park on a slightly grey and chilly day. I'm here with a person who is much better at speaking Spanish than me and much better at making podcasts than me. It's Vicky Baker. Hi, Vicky.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. We're walking into Haggerston Park. Have you been to this park many times before?
Yeah, but not recently.
Yeah.
Not for ages. So it's nice. I think I watched the Olympics opening ceremony from this park.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's a good memory.
That was a top memory.
Wow.
It was really fun, and you could see the planes like go overhead.
Yeah.
With the flag colours, and it was coming straight from the Olympics stadium, being sort of so nearby.
Yeah, I remember that day. That was that seemed to be quite a momentous day, didn't it? Everyone was very bought into that day, and the ceremony was quite a kind of positive surprise, wasn't it? Everyone.
Because we expected it to be a bit of a flop.
A bit of a flop, a typical British flop, and it actually turned out to be quite kind of successful, didn't it? And yeah, very almost quite moving, wasn't it? When you were watching all those things happening, and then it's almost like everything from the day after that just started going downhill quite rapidly. That was like the last day before it all started going wrong. Maybe should we look at the animals while we're here?
Oh, there are animals.
There's the city farm. Yeah, let's loop round and we'll go and have a look at them. I'm not sure if they moved out during COVID, but yeah, we'll have a look. I can see a robin. Can you see that?
Off season.
Yeah. That's another good thing about parks, isn't it? You can see some wildlife, some birds and stuff. Do you go to your park in Walthamstow much? Like
my
local Lloyd Park?
Yeah, Lloyd Park is my local park, and yeah, good few times a week actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just just somewhere if I'm going for a quick run or a quick on a really busy work day, just for a brief, I don't know, just to get out of the house, and it's very nearby. And I think that's the best thing about London, having so many options in terms of green spaces that other cities don't have.
Exactly. Yeah, Lloyd Park is a nice one, isn't it? I like the William Morris Gallery that's there as well. They always have good exhibitions, don't they? What are some other ones in Walthamstow? There's one by St James.
Yeah, we've got St James is just a little one. I mean, we've got a lot of green, a lot of green space with the marshes and things like that, but they don't count as your park. So you're defining parks very specifically.
Well, I think they can be even a little bit of green that is on maybe a bomb site, or where they've just created a little garden or something. I think those ones are quite nice as well, aren't they? Because they're kind of useful for local residents to go to. But yeah, then you obviously get the small ones, then you get the big ones as well, don't you? Like Hyde Park and Regent's Park, which are massive. But yeah, those nice small ones are quite sweet as well. I can see something which is living. Are they horses? I think they are, aren't they?
Oh wow, yeah.
This is great. So we're by the, I think it's called Hackney City Farm, where they have some animals. What's here? I can see some goats. That's actually very cute. Some baby goats hanging out. They look very happy. You can hear the sound, the unmistakable sound of sheep. There's little lambs as well, isn't there? Can you see those? Mm-hmm. Those baby ones. Yeah.
Season, I guess.
These are. I can promise listeners, these are not sound effects that I've added later, which you probably can do if you go to the Radio 4 sound effects library. They are real animals. And those lambs are very, very small as well, aren't they? There they go. I can see a donkey. Wow. This is very nice. Kids would love it here. They should
they do. I think they probably do. But I think they have a few kids.
Why is there no kids here? They should bring all the local school kids here. Yeah, it's nice to see that. There's a good cafe here, I think, as well, isn't there? Have you ever been to the cafe here?
In the actual farm entrance? I think I have, actually.
Yeah, that's quite a nice one, isn't it? Oh, very, very sweet. And it's kind of strange to be in the middle of London and you have like a sort of little farm.
I'm thinking of other places that do it, like Clissold had a few animals.
You're right. Clissold has deer, doesn't it? And some. Do they have goats as well?
Yeah, wasn't it Bob and Dylan?
Were they?
I think they were named that.
I didn't know they were named. Bob and Dylan.
Sure they had names like that.
That's very good. That's very good. I like that. Yeah.
My niece was a fan.
Oh, was she? She liked. Which was her favourite out of Bob and Dylan? Did you just like them all? I guess.
I have to. I don't know if you remember that now. I have to go back and. Quiz her.
Yeah. Get her on the phone and we'll find out what she likes. What was I going to say? Oh, but I was going to say because you're obviously great at Spanish. Maybe we should have done.
Oh God, don't make me speak Spanish.
We should have done a podcast in Spanish. ¿Cuál es el mejor parque en el mundo?
I'm not getting good on it.
No say. Yeah, I think. When you're in Buenos Aires, was there a park that you went to there that you enjoyed? I remember going there, but I don't remember going to a park.
There aren't many, and that is for an amazing city. That is one of its downfalls, actually. I love it, but I did notice specifically when I came back how much better London is for that. There's one in Palermo which is that is sort of the biggest, and has this kind of really nice woods attached to it as well, and it's got like a little lakey bit, and everybody goes there. But it was just, even though I lived in that same neighbourhood, it was on the other side. It was always a bit of a trek to get there, especially in the height of summer, and there aren't that many places. And there was a couple of like little plazas, but they're, I don't know, probably more chaotic than a standard street. Yeah. So there wasn't many places where you could just go, and particularly those kind of small places like this that it's not an event to go to. Do you know what I mean? Where you just sort of pop into. I missed that. Yeah.
It's a very big and crazy city, but a very fun one. I remember when I met you when I was in Buenos Aires at the same time that you were, and I seem to remember we had a dinner and quite drunken evening. But there's lots of kind of amazing places that you can go and eat and drink in Buenos Aires, isn't there? Maybe there's not great parks, but you can certainly eat and drink like a king or queen, can't you?
Yeah, it's not lacking other things. It's not lacking good food, good amazing wine, and nightlife. Yeah, which is it really is quite. I don't think if you've not sort of been to Latin America, maybe people won't realise that kind of nightlife that people have is that they have there is it is quite like. It's also quite debauched, isn't it? People will kind of go out till 5 or 6 in the morning and then go to work. Yeah, I never used to work out how my housemate could do it. She was Argentinian, and she would just somehow get up and get going the next day. I don't think they drink quite as much as us, so maybe don't have those shockers of a hangover, but still.
No sleep though. That's the thing. Yeah,
but then I would catch up with her like a few days later, and then she would come home and just like crash like really early. But still, starting the night so much later. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Because also thinking about parks, we often have a thing in Britain where you'll meet people on a Saturday if the weather's nice, and you'll hear the Prosecco corks popping at 1 p.m. People just start very, very early, don't they? And when you look at Spain or Latin America, it's more of a people have that calimocho thing, don't they? Where you have like wine and coke in the day, but it's more of a late night
sort of thing, isn't it? When you're partying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more of a late night culture.
Late
And
night.
even like kids' discos and things. I remember one of my colleagues like was picking up their, you know, like remember school discos? They'd finish about like 7:30, 8 o'clock, wouldn't they? And this one was like, I've got to go and pick the kids up. It's like 2 a.m. from their school.
Hold on,
party.
the school disco
Yeah.
went on till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I can't believe.
I don't know if that's common. That might be actually. Other people might say that was just a real anomaly, but that was in
Yeah.
this situation. It was like, yeah, it was going on till silly, but.
Wow, that's so funny. Exactly. In England, those school discos are over very early. That's kind of. I haven't talked about school disco for so long, Vicky, and that's kind of. I have to say that's kind of triggering in a way, because it makes me think of going to a school disco and feeling extremely shy and out of place. And not really hugely enjoying it, I have to say. Did you like your school discos?
No, I can't say. I don't think I was a big fan. I don't remember many of them. Maybe I've suppressed those memories.
Yeah. No, God, I remember. Like, I think we had them in junior school when I was like maybe 9 or 10, and I was really not in a place to be.
That was when you did those awkward slow
God.
dances where you kind of put your hands on someone's
Right.
shoulders from like really far away.
Really?
No? That was
Were
like.
you doing those? I wasn't going anywhere near anybody. There was no slow dancing even at that distance for me.
Yeah, those school discos, wasn't there something called
Yeah.
There was
I think there was.
there's
Yeah.
something called like a snowball where you had to sort of swap
A what?
partners or something.
Snowball.
I might be completely making that up. There was some sort of word and there was some sort of almost like game-like thing that was incorporated. This was in like when I was about 10 or something.
That's interesting. What song would they have played?
I'm not going to tell you because that would completely age me.
I'm trying to think. God, there's probably some Phil Collins going on at my discos in those days. What else was there? Maybe Wham.
Let's face it,
Wham.
there probably was some Kylie and Jason.
Kylie and Jason. What's that one that's like Together? Is it called that? I can't remember the name of it.
What,
Especially for you. Especially for you. Yeah, this school disco. But yeah, I imagine an Argentinian school disco would be. I think everyone would be less repressed, and it would be more of a fun thing.
Yeah.
But that's like all kind of life, isn't it? When you go to Southern Europe or you go to Latin America, everyone just seems more open. And
All the kissing, greeting everybody.
Yeah.
From your hairdresser to someone in the bank to going to a dinner and having to go around the table and
Kiss everyone. Yeah, exactly. It's very kind of welcoming and open, though, isn't it? We're so standoffish, and I do wonder if our national drunkenness is to do with our kind of awkward, our sort of feeling of cultural awkwardness. Maybe like that's the only way
to let loose a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Is to get very drunk because everyone just feels so painfully.
Your inhibitions and have those conversations
with
other people.
Yeah, exactly. We're just walking around Haggerston Park now. I need to be more of a professional. In so many ways, but one of them is researching parks, because I've always wondered about this park, and I'll put some information in the notes, but it strikes me that this is like a walled park. I wonder, this is different to other parks, because it looks like it was maybe the gardens of like a house or something. But I've noticed how some parks are kind of open and some are closed with a gate. Like some royal parks you get kind of thrown out of when it's dark, and I guess that happens here. Whereas something like London Fields or something, you can just get into it any time. People doing some exercising there in the background, if you notice those straining noises. Yeah, but it's a nice one, Haggerston. I need to come here more often. Now, I think it would be good to talk about, as we're on a podcast, to talk about the podcast that you've made, Vicky, which I've really, really loved. And I guess I wondered how you decided to talk about those things, like the Anna Delvey one first, fake Heiress, and then the new one, fake psychic, about Lamar Keane. What sort of drew you to those stories, and why did you want to make podcasts about those people?
Well, I think it was a bit of a fluke coincidence that led to making the first one, really. Yeah. The whole thing, actually, because I was working in the DC bureau with the BBC, and I was working on something else. I think I was investigating televangelists, because I really do, as another big scam in some cases. And
we were talking about your love of a scam.
Yeah. So I was fully deep into that, and then I went into the morning meeting and I said, there's this Anna Delvey trial on, and you've probably seen the story. It went a bit viral once before, and she's on trial. We should probably, the collective we, should cover this. Someone should pick it up.
Yeah, right.
And it can't be me, because I'm in the middle of doing my other thing. And then next thing I know, they're like, no, over to you, Vicky.
Yeah.
Write the feature.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And then as soon as I got into it, I was like, God, this is a hell of a tale. Really got stuck into it. And then afterwards, it's like my soon-to-be colleague, Sashi Yevtushenko from the BBC Drama department, was up. He'd already earmarked it as saw the potential to do a drama, which I never would have thought of dramatising it and working with actors and a playwright and things like that. And it just fell into place from there.
Yeah, and it works really well. Obviously, Sasha's background is making plays, audio plays like Master and Margarita and other things like that. And I think those recreations actually work really well then, don't they, to kind of bring the story to life.
Yeah, there hadn't been that many at that point, where the combination of journalism and drama was a bit new, and I think they go really well together. There are obviously times when you kind of think, as a journalist, you want to get everything right, and you have to let go a little bit and let the playwright tell the story and utilise their creativity and imagination, because we don't know exactly what was said in some of these scenes. But yeah, that was fun. I kind of always think it's like, when you're watching like a TV series or something like that is based on a true story as a straightforward drama, and you end up like Googling things at the same time. Like if you're watching The Crown, you're like, did this really happen? And like you're Googling, and and so I think the docudrama podcast allows you to do both those things. Like hopefully I'm kind of predicting what people would be Googling, and then answering those questions.
Yeah. It's funny with Anna especially. It's like the Anna story especially is kind of, it's always become like your story, hasn't it? Because you've told the Anna story so much, and being kind of so deeply involved with it. What were your thoughts, having learned all those things about Anna and made that documentary about Anna Delvey? Like, did you change your mind about her, or like what were your sort of thoughts, having learned all that stuff and told the story so many times?
There was definitely a point where I thought there was far enough Anna in my life for a lifetime. Then it just keeps coming back.
Too much Anna.
Too much Anna. Yeah. With the Netflix TV show, and there's always sort of little episodes in her real life where it keeps coming back.
Yeah. Invented Anna's been very, very popular, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think the story seems to resonate with people a lot.
Yeah, it's intriguing. It's almost like, I mean, yeah, I mean, what do I think of her? As I got to know her story a bit more, I was always trying to work out what her motivate. I think she was a mysterious character, and that's what attracted her to the story in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think she does put some boundaries up, and it's always quite hard to get to like who she is. And and I don't know how sort of. It would be interesting what she does in her sort of trying to reinvent herself now as a celebrity, and whether she has that kind of celebrity star power to go with it.
Yeah. She is quite a mysterious person, isn't she? And I think that is the appeal. And it is strange to kind of think about what's driven her. I guess she's sort of become a kind of heroine to people. Is that fair to say? I don't know. People are like mystified by her, but I feel like they kind of like love her in a way that you sort of think like, well, why is she doing this? But also, you know, she's got like obviously had like the crazy confidence to go and do all of these things.
I mean, she has got a weird sort of fan base.
Yeah.
I do think it's quite minor. I think a lot of people, the majority of people who, you know, mass audience who watched Inventing Anna and maybe listened to our podcast as well, like, I think most are actually not massively sympathetic.
Do you think so? Yeah.
But there are. I mean, I was listening to an interview that she did recently with on a podcast with Julia Fox.
Right.
And that was extraordinary because they just kept calling her Queen and like you know just idolising her.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird to listen to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that's not my impression.
Yeah, I've asked you this before, but I do wonder like what it would be like if you were to meet Anna. I wonder what I feel like it would be quite an awkward conversation if you were to talk to her. She seems like quite.
Well, we've had some contact,
Yeah.
and she doesn't shy away from it. That was the interesting thing, I suppose, when we were making it as well. I was like, gosh, if she really regrets all this and goes to the ground, and we're telling all her story, that would be more awkward.
Yeah.
But the fact that she has come to embrace the attention and doesn't really mind engaging with the press. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. And when you then made Fake Psychic about Lamarquine, did you see any kind of similarities between him and Anna, or was it just the idea of that kind of scam story?
Yeah, there are some similarities. And there was sort of through understanding more about Lamar as a psychic con man, I sort of made me reconsider Anna a little bit.
Yeah.
And just this idea of charisma and I was coming across, because I was, Lamar is actually long dead, and so I was trying to get a sense of who he was, and like from the people who'd met him, and tracing various people, and I was getting sort of mixed responses, as in some people found him very charismatic and would captivate people in the room, and other people said he was very forgettable and maybe it was his partner was the more memorable one of the two, and it turned out I was speaking to a sort of sociologist for the podcast, Janja Lalic, and she's an expert in cults, more cults, and he was not a cult leader, but the idea of kind of belief and following these charismatic characters, and she was telling me that charisma is always in the eye of the beholder, and so it's not actually innate in that person, which is why you can have some people fall for people's charms more easily than others, and and others are just not caught up with them at all and wouldn't pay them any attention. And that's the same with Anna, really. Like, there were some people who still say that she was she had some sort of quality about her where you know, and the big personality that you think that she was rich, and other people just really didn't have much time for her when she would like to turn up and do her pitch. You know, they'd turn the other way. And yet she had sort of some hangers-on who were interested in her every word, and so it's really how you interpret it rather than someone being a charismatic nature. And that makes a big difference in how people manage to fool people.
Yes,
when they're scamming.
It's interesting, isn't it? I was thinking this when I was watching The Dropout recently as well. It was that kind of question of how, you know, you believe someone. I think, I don't know, maybe both are, obviously our backgrounds are in journalism, and maybe our spidey senses are so finely tuned to everything that's going on. I feel like it would be very difficult for someone to scam me into anything, but I mean, maybe
so,
famous last words.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are more easily led or something, but
it comes in, and it comes down to the other thing I learned from the Lamar Keane story was that he coined this phrase, true believer syndrome.
Talk to us about true believer syndrome.
So that's basically the idea that you're so committed to a belief in something that whatever evidence you are shown, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
So in Lamar's case, you know, he's confessing to his misdeeds and the fact that he was not really psychic and it was all made up, and he showed people all his workings, and they were still like, okay, fine, but I still believe you, and I still, you know, I'm going to follow other, you know, work with a partner or whatever, and and you can't be swayed, and it seemed to be very much relatable to our times today, when you get I don't know, from QAnon to all these conspiracy theories where people get so embedded and it becomes such a community to them that you can't just, even if you show people that whatever it is that they're believing in, or anti-vax sentiments, and show them the scientific papers or whatever, they're not going to change their minds. And it's more that, you know, that they'd be losing too much, in fact.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight, isn't it, into how people believe in things, and what they believe, and whether they believe, you know, us as the media, or, you know, people kind of telling the stories. Do people believe the way that we're telling stories? Or I guess the idea of stories per se is quite an interesting one, isn't it? Like, who is telling the truth, and how and when do people believe it? But I think, obviously, I mean, I love both those podcasts, and I think, I mean, do you think the podcast medium is a good way to tell those stories? Do you think it's a way that kind of resonates with people as well, to do it in that way?
Yeah, I think so, because it's sort of a dialogue, even though it's very much a one way, you know, narration, and or even with scenes, it still feels like, I think it can feel to the listener like they're involved, and it's they're sort of on a journey with you, trying to work out the scam, or work out, you know, in some cases, like the murder or whatever it is. There's a lot, you know, you feel like you're playing a part, and it's, you know, it's sometimes can be quite a lot of open questions, and I think that's good too.
People can add to it a lot, can't they? Anna, I went to uni with Anna Doble, and she was involved in the podcast that the BBC did with NRK about was it Death in Ice Valley?
Ice Valley. I was just thinking of that one. Yeah, where you can actually chip in with your thoughts
exactly. Yeah, they
on what happened to this
they
woman.
really encouraged the listeners in Norway and UK and now around the world as well to help with evidence and with theories, and they really have that kind of open dialogue, and that's a fascinating kind of cold case about, for anyone that doesn't know, about an unsolved death, basically, like who killed this person, how did it happen, and who was the person. But yeah, people kind of added their own thoughts and theories to it. But I often wonder as well. I mean, you know, podcasting is quite new to me. I hope this doesn't sound horribly unprofessional, listener. But yeah, I kind of think there's an intimacy, isn't there, when you're listening? It's like a kind of one-on-one thing, isn't it? So maybe there's like sort of more power in the podcast.
Yeah, and I don't think the way that we did both of those as well was to leave a lot of gaps for listeners to make their own interpretations. You know, I don't think we either glamorized or demonized Anna.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it's almost sort of hard to say what I think about Anna, because it's, you know, I think we painted quite, you know, more of a complex picture, and it was left open to people to determine what they thought of her and the friendship she made along the way.
Yeah. And would you do more? We touched on this briefly when we were talking earlier, but do you think you'd make more podcasts, Vicky?
Another fake
in the future?
Fake
Yeah. The third fake.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to. It's a great subject. There's, you know, it's a great area. There's loads of scope. There's no shortage of, people doing terrible scams. So,
fake podcaster. How about this for an idea? A writer who has no business making podcasts, interviewing people, doesn't really know what he's doing. Podcasts sound a bit half-assed, but they're quite enjoyable. Do you think that would make a
you've got to, you know,
bit meta?
If you're going to get 6 episodes, you've got to kill someone in the middle or something.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that.
Turn it into some money-making empire, which nobody's worked out how to do yet.
No, exactly. Well, I read the other day the best way to monetize a podcast is sell your equipment. I would have thought you and Sasha would be millionaires by now after that. You should have got Netflix to cut you a deal for Anna, shouldn't you? Really?
It's the BBC. What can you say?
Yeah, exactly. But no, I really enjoyed those both, and I think you should make more of them in the future. Maybe one set in Argentina, which would involve you
having to relocate, unfortunately.
Exactly. Maybe that could be the idea. What do you think? There must be some stories from there. There's all kinds of craziness going on in Argentina, isn't there? Maybe that would be the future. Have you enjoyed our walk around Haggerston Park today, Vicky?
Lovely, thank you for inviting me. It was nice to be in that park for the first time in ages. Yeah.
What was your favourite part of the park? You've got to say the animals.
I got to say the animals.
Surely.
Just random goats. Yes, the animals were.
That was definitely my favourite. Not many parks can you see. Well, we said obviously. Well, we need to find out if the names of the goats in Clissold are Bob and Dylan. Yeah, that will be my next mission. Perfect. Okay, Vicky Baker, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of Park Date. There's lots more where that came from, and there'll be more in the future as well. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review, good or bad, make them funny. I'll be reading out the best ones, and there'll be a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most. Name check some trees in your reviews and leave them wherever you get your podcasts from. Check out our website, parkdate.co.uk, and if you see me walking around in the park, come and say hello. I think that was the sound of someone sneezing. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
on the next episode of Park Date. It's just me and some ant friends. Okay, here's an ant. Here's another ant. I can see 3 more. There's 10 coming from one direction. Here's another one. Here's another one. Can I just grab one of you? Yeah, you over here. Yeah. Let me just put the microphone down here. Can you tell me who's your favourite contestant from Love Island? All that, and even less, on the next episode of Park Date.